My name is Sarah Powell, and I played firefighter Sally Reid. I went in for the audition, and I remember I met the producer, um, Paul, and I met, and there was a casting director there, and I went in for an audition in at the studios where it was filmed, down off Tooley Street, which I remember it was not a part of London I knew at all, and it was really difficult to find. If you didn't know, it was really difficult to find. So I managed to make it, and I enjoyed meeting them, and they were very nice. And then I got a recall, and I met, I think, three of the directors, Jerry and Keith Washington, I think, and the producer was there again, and the casting director was there again. And I remember talking really, really loudly because I was really nervous, and I really wanted to do it. I was so excited, and I was almost jumping out of my seat with excitement, and let me do it, let me do it, let me do it. And I was really shouting, talking really loudly. I remember the casting director saying, "Sarah, shh, no, oh, sorry. And then I think by the time I got back to my flat, my agent called and said they're going to offer it to you. And I think then I just lay down on my bed because I didn't really, to try and calm my breathing, I didn't really know what to do with myself. There was no one in the flat. There was no one to tell. I just sort of lay there trying to breathe. And it was, it was really, really exciting. My flatmate eventually came home and he said, "Are you all right?" And I said, yeah, I got that job. I got that job in London's Burning. And he went, "Oh, right, great. So what character are you going to play in it? How, and I went, "Well, there's a girl in it. There's a woman in it." And he went, yeah. And I said, "Well, that's going to be me." And I think he sat down then. He was like, "Oh, right. That's big." It was just a bit too much to take in at the time, yeah. But it was a really exciting, it was exciting day. I remember the prank. That was really fun. Jimmy directed that episode. And I was still getting to know everyone, so I didn't realize, I'd not worked with someone who was directing and acting in it. And I remember he would like jump in and out. He was wearing just like his normal clothes. He wasn't even wearing a fight, but then they would just stick a helmet on his head and go, "Right, go do your lines." And then they'd film him and he'd take the helmet off and go off and direct again. That's what I remember about it mostly. I remember they played a joke on me in the first, when you had to do the lineup, the roll call at the beginning of the day, and they all turned one way and I turned the other, and they were like, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing." I went, "Yeah, I do." And that's all I remember really about the prank. I remember Jimmy filming it, and I remember just trying to get to know everyone, and trying to figure out who everyone was. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. God, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it for a really long time. So yeah, it was a good gag. They wrote some great stuff. I was very lucky. From memory, I mean, I'll have to watch them again. From memory, I think the really exciting one was when we went up to Lincolnshire, and it was a petrol station explosion, and that we were there for like 4 or 5 days, and they blew up, and it was an old an old army base. Sorry, not RAF, an old army base, and they blew everything up, and that was just it was just so exciting. And we just filmed night shoots. There was no day shoots, so there might have been a bit at the beginning of the day. And yeah, we were always just running in and out of buildings. We were trapped in a building at one point, but someone got us out. I got stuck at the top of a turntable ladder at another point, and then someone got it moving like stuck at the top of the turntable ladder in clouds of black smoke. It was just impossible to breathe. I just stopped breathing for a bit. I thought I better not inhale because I think this is really bad. And all I could hear was Nobby, who was the consultant, the fire service consultant, shouting, "Get her out of there, get her out of there." That's all I could hear. And they obviously couldn't move it. So that was probably the thing I remember the best. That was exciting. And we stayed in a really fancy hotel. And that was really nice. Really nice room. Yeah, I think that's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I felt really proud of being a female firefighter, and I felt really proud of being a Black woman, because I don't think there were any Black women on the force at that time. And I know that after every episode went out of London's Burning, calls to apply to the fire service would like triple. And I was very aware of that. And I was really hopeful that it would increase the number of women joining the fire service. And you don't know if it does or not, but there are a lot of women now in the fire service. So my kids' school, the fire engines show up on the at the school fair to talk to the kids about fire safety and stuff, and let them climb over the engine. And the last time I was there, there was a Black firewoman, and it made my heart sing. I was really delighted to see her, because when I joined London's Burning, there really weren't many. I mean, I can't remember how many female firefighters there were back then in the early 90s, but they hadn't been allowed to join long. There was really a handful. And now I think it's completely commonplace. I don't think anyone bats an eye. And I felt really proud to be doing that. Yeah, really proud. And a great sense of responsibility, possibly too much responsibility for me at that age. But yeah, I was very proud of that. Very proud of that. I did. And I spent basically a day driving around London in a fire engine, and that was great fun. In all honesty, I love driving. All my family love driving. And my nephew, in fact, races. He races go-karts to quite a high level. My brother is a rally car driver in the Caribbean. So my whole family are quite, and my mum will go to watch Formula One, at any point, at any drop of a hat. And she's always been a really good driver as well. So I drew from a very young age. So, and I was quite scared about driving fire engine, as you might be, but actually it really wasn't that hard. I don't mean it really wasn't very hard. It's all power steering. You can drive it like that. It's just that it's big. And there are a lot of buttons, but I wasn't allowed to press most of the buttons because I wasn't actually a firefighter. So I wasn't, I couldn't do any of that stuff. So I just had to drive it and learn where the indicators and the windscreen wipers were. And it was fun. So yeah, I just drove it around London for a bit. But I mean, the guy was like, "You can do this, can't you?" And I went, "Yeah, really." I'm like, "Should we knock off for lunch?" "Yeah, all right." Yeah, that was it. They gave me a day to learn it, but it was fine. It was fine. Yeah, I think I had a week. I had a whole week, one of which was for the driving, and the rest of the week was just doing stuff. I had to go overnight to a fire station. Have you interviewed Richard Walsh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have he told you about his time, his training? Yeah, he told everybody. Um, that wasn't that exciting, but I did get called out to a flood at sort of 5 a.m, which was about 3 pump flood, shout that we were there for like hours at 5 a.m. Shift is over at 6 or something, and we were there for like 3 hours. It was no fun. And I wasn't even doing it for real, so I was just standing about. But yeah, and you wore all the gear and I seem to remember, I was like an underground basement you had to go to and crawl through all this stuff with all your fire equipment on and the mask and everything. And it was really scary, actually. There were bits of it that were really frightening. So yeah. No, they did a lot. They did a good old amount of training. Yeah. Met some good people. I live quite close to Paul Bond, who was one of the DOPs, director of photography, who I remember at one point someone said to me, "You will never meet a nicer man or a DOP," and they are quite right. Anyway, so it's lovely. I run into him quite regularly. Michael Garner, I was friends with Michael Garner, and we kind of lost touch because I moved the other side of the river, which of course is, then that's it. So yeah, Mick was my friend, and I do run into him and his wife from time to time. And then no, I was friends with Jimmy. And yeah, that was pretty devastating for all of us. And that's it really. I would love to see Ross, but it's all right because I can see Ross on TV and I just watch and wonder. Think, how is he so good? He always was. He is such a talented man. So yeah, that's it really. Everyone was quite a lot older than me when I joined, except for Ross. They were all quite a lot older than me, so they all had families, young families with kids. It was a very big, gap in what you were doing really in life. But Mick didn't have children when he joined, and he had children during the show, and so I got to know his kids really well because I'd go and hang out, and that was exciting. But everybody else, they had lives, they had proper lives. I was just a kid. Well, it was a really lovely time. It was really nice to see people. I mean, not all of us were there. Mick was there, Sean came, Richard was there. I can't remember who else was there. I went. Yeah, that was really cool. Kath Rogers was there, wasn't she? Yeah, that was great. And we had our picture taken with Florence Eshalomi, who's she's the MP, one of the local. She was the area MP now. Yeah, no, it was a really nice day. It was 150 years, wasn't it? Was it? Is that right? It was 150 years of the fire service, wasn't it? Well, yes and no. You always think this. I wish I had enjoyed it more. I mean, appreciated it more and enjoyed it more at the time. But there's a lot of pressure. And as I said, I was young, I was straight out of drama school, and it was a huge show. It was huge. It was like 12, 30. The first episode of that first series that I was in was like 13 million viewers. It was just so overnight my life was a very different place to be, and I found that very, very difficult. So the work was great, the people were great, but then there was this whole other thing which I didn't really know what to do with, to be honest. And that was really hard, and I've never known anything like it, actually. And I've done some quite big stuff since, but I've never known anything like the scenes that I saw at London's Burning. It was the kind of, because the early 90s, it was sort of Take That and things, and John Alford joined when I joined, so that kind of screaming fandom, young girl fandom was kind of really at its height, and we just got it. We just got it full force. Obviously it wasn't directed at me personally. Someone would sometimes say, "My dad quite likes you." Like, thanks. But because I was with the boys, like, just this wash of so there was a whole other thing. So yes, I do. It would have been nice to stay for longer, but actually at the time I just couldn't cope with the life that it was demanding of me. that is impossible. There were so many fantastic. I mean, that's like asking who's your favorite friend. It's like they were all so carefully done. They were just fantastic. They really were. I mean, like, no, you can't. I mean, that's just impossible. Wow, that's really interesting. it was such a particular yeah, it's hard to get right because they did do something set in Newcastle, I think, a few years ago, and it didn't really come off. I think there's something really special about the original film that I've forgotten, sorry, his name's gone out of my head. Jack Rosenthal, that he wrote, that set it up in a really particular way, and then it always went along those lines. And I think you have to have that base for it to be. I mean, how many series did it do, London's Burning? Was it 10, 12?
I think he was 14, I think.
Was it? Yeah. I think the original producer, Paul Brand, left after about series 10, but and I think the last two weren't quite so successful, but he had produced the original one as well. And I just think that you, so yeah, I is there an appetite to redo it? I don't know. It's quite nice that it hasn't been. It's quite nice that all these things keep getting revisited, but you're like, we were pretty original. We were pretty special. Golly, who would the cast be? Oh, I don't know. There are so many brilliant actors, aren't there? So many brilliant young actors, bossing it in all sorts of ways. Yeah, I like there's a girl who's doing the she's in the Responder at the moment. I think I want to say her name is Adelayo Adedayo, but I probably got that wrong. Anyway, she's in the Responder with Martin Freeman. She would be fantastic. Oh, there's so many great young actors who would just boss it. Yeah. Well, I remember that. I do remember being stuck up that turntable ladder and it not moving and being in clouds, enveloped in clouds of smoke, going, I don't think this is very safe. And I also remember there was one shoot we must have got, I don't know, it was in the middle of the night and we were rescuing someone from a pond or something. And I remember the green, and they had to make mud. So it was a night shoot and it was like midnight and they made mud, and the mud was chocolate mousse mix. So we all stank of this kind of synthetic chocolate mousse mist we had to wade through, and they wanted us really filthy. So we were like slipping in it and sliding in it. And because we were so disgusting and it was a night shoot, they just literally got a big porter cabin with no furniture in it and cardboard boxes just flattened on the floor. And that was our green room. So we spent the whole night freezing cold with these tiny little plastic cups of tea. And every time we weren't shooting, we had to go and sit in this basically freezing cold box on some cardboard on the floor that was just cut. The whole thing was covered in mud, chocolate mousse. And I remember lying there and it was, about 2 a.m, exhausted. And we were all just looking at, I think it was Sean who just said, oh, the glamour, the glamour, because you come from like hordes of people screaming your name, wanting to to get your autograph and have a photograph with you, to just being sat in this mud covered sludge of a porter cabin at 2 a.m. Yeah, that was quite a profound memory. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm being stuck up the turntable ladder. That blowing up everything in Lincolnshire was really exciting. That's a really good memory. Yeah. Same as I did then. Audition, try and get work. I've got 2 kids, so that always takes a chunk of your career, really. Well, it doesn't always, but it did in my experience. So yeah, I try and be a mum as best as any of us can, and I do some work in the meantime. But it's they're only, it's ridiculous. Everyone says it, they're only little ones, and you don't want to miss it. And I didn't want to miss it. So I was home for quite a long time, and I started to do quite a lot of audio work actually when I was pregnant with my first child, and that's continued. And actually, that saw me through the pandemic as well. Audio books, voiceovers, that really helped get me through the pandemic. So I did quite a lot of that. But I'm still, a jobbing actor for hire. So like, if you know anyone looking for, this, let me know. Put the word out. Not really, not at the moment. A couple of things that I did last year, which I really loved, they've been out. Like I played Mary Seacole in Doctor Who with Jodie Whittaker, which was just fantastic. It had shades of London's Burning, actually. We were filming in a disused quarry in Wales in the middle of the night. And it was freezing cold and we were covered in mud. And I felt comfortable. I was like, I'm in my zone. I know where I am. The driving rain. I know what I'm doing here. That was really great. That was a really great experience. And I did a bit of episode on ghosts, ghosts, which I love so much. I love that series. So I was really excited to be in it. And then I've got something coming out next. Oh, wait a minute. Where are we? We're 2022. Yeah. So this year, actually, I just did a great new fun series called Murder in Provence with Roger Allam, who I just love and I've loved for a very long time, and Nancy Carroll. So that will come out. Actually, I don't know. I think it's in the spring. That comes out in the spring. So look out for that. And then, I don't know what else is coming next. I do lots of audio stuff, as I say, lots of audio. So you'll probably hear bits and pieces of that if you listen carefully. Thank you very much for asking me. I've really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect. I haven't done a London's Burning interview ever. Since the years that I've done it, I've never done a what do you remember? So it's been fun.